and very warm welcome everyone to CX Cube, our new video series to explore the broad set of innovations across intelligent CX from SAP. Today I'm excited to talk to Aadil, who is product manager for SAP Emarsys and in charge of building generative AI solutions for marketers. Aadil, so great to have you with us today.
Hi Sven, thank you very much. It's actually a big pleasure to be here myself, and I'm looking forward to talking to you about everything that we have ongoing with generative AI at Emarsys. And this is human-generated content.
Wonderful. Hey, before we jump right into your demo, let me ask you 3 short questions. First, can you please shed some light on why we are investing in generative AI scenarios and what marketers can expect from that technology within SAP Emarsys?
That's a great question, Sven. Well, at Emarsys, we envision a world in which automation elevates creativity, redefining industry standards. And that's what's led us to our generative AI vision, which is to revolutionize the marketing landscape by automating complex tasks and empowering marketers to have more strategic and creative endeavors. We want to make marketing more efficient and fulfilling and also more intuitive and set a standard for what is possible within the industry by improving existing workflows with generative AI.
That sounds really promising. I think for many out there who are watching us right now, this is exciting news. So secondly, what concrete generative AI use cases have been implemented so far and which ones are in the works right now?
Yes, Sven, it's very important to understand how these features have taken shape within the Emarsys platform. Now, given the wide breadth of potential applications of generative AI across the Emarsys platform, our approach has been to break the strategy down into smaller strategic initiatives that address specific parts of the user flow within the platform. What I mean by this is that we can categorize the Emarsys platform into different big buckets, and we want to see how we can influence these big buckets with generative AI. Now, one such big bucket that we're focusing on right now is the one of hyper-personalized omnichannel content creation. Now, with hyper-personalized omnichannel content creation, what we want to do is influence the marketer's workflow when it comes to content creation by using the powers of generative AI. And how these features have taken shape in the platform is one, with the subject line generator, which allows you to take the context of an email campaign along with some baseline instructions that come in the form of prompting and send that across to a large language model, which then helps you generate different subject lines based on the use case that you want to run, making this entire process a lot more streamlined and easy. Then we have the content block generator, and similar to the subject line generator, you define an audience, you define some content, and then we send that across to the large language model, which then helps you create the email copy for an entire email campaign, again with a lot of ease. Another feature that's there under this wider umbrella is the product finder, and with the AI product finder, what we want to do is essentially allow our marketers to have a conversation with their product catalog. So being able to take a natural language query and translating that into a database query that results in a set of products that fit the marketing use case that you're trying to run. Coupled with that, we want to make it very easy to insert those products into an email campaign, regardless of whatever design template that you're using. And then lastly, when it comes to our generative AI functionalities that we're building out under this hyper-personalized omnichannel content creation umbrella, we have the generative AI segments. With the generative AI segments, what we want to do is allow marketers to better understand their segments. For example, marketers can have very complex and convoluted segments. And what we want to do is allow generative AI to create a description or natural language description of that segment for the marketer to understand and search a lot easier. And we also want to go the other way around. So take a natural language description of a segment and then convert that into an actual segment. Again, increasing the productivity and intuitiveness that comes with the Emarsys platform with generative AI. Those are some of the things that are there within our current generative AI pipeline. But again, this is just the first step in a very long journey.
Okay, got it. Aadil, last but not least, before I leave you to show and inspire us with an exciting system demo, third question. How can customers really adopt and leverage these new generative AI solutions to enhance their marketing and customer engagement efforts? Do they need special roles within their line of business or IT, for instance, data scientists or data analysts, in order to put that all to work and take the full advantage of these new innovations?
Another intriguing and peering question from Sven. And no, to give you the short answer. And the long answer is, with Emarsys, everything that we do is really focused on bringing power back to the marketer. When it comes to generative AI, we want to seamlessly blend generative AI with the existing marketing workflows that are there within Emarsys to increase the level of automation. So reduce the number of steps that it takes from A to Z. And what this means is that whatever we build with generative AI can be used with the marketer. It's turnkey. What we want to do is make sure that the marketer doesn't need to ask a technical persona or anyone else to support them in carrying out their use cases end to end. Right, with that being said, let's dive right into the Emarsys platform to actually understand how all of this comes together to provide our marketers with these wonderful workflows using the power of generative AI. All right, so we've found ourselves within the Emarsys demo accounts. As you can see, this is the public GTM EMEA demo account, and this is an account that some of our pre-sales and sales individuals use to talk about the Emarsys platform and demo its capabilities to prospects or existing customers. Right, so what you're looking at right now is the email visual content editor, or the email VCE for short. The email VCE, what it does is allows marketers to come into the Emarsys platform and create and define an email campaign for the use case that they're trying to run. All right, as you can see, we have an email over here that is calling out and introducing a new pair of stilettos for our brand called Best Run. And we have some empty blocks over here that we would like to fill in content for. This demo is going to talk about the subject line generator, the product finder, and the block content generator. Now, to tie all these use cases together, let's walk through a potential marketer workflow when it comes to using all of these different features and functionalities. As you can see, we're introducing a new stiletto. So what we can do is go and generate some content for this block over here. What I'm going to do is go and click on generate block content, and we'll see we're met with the AI assistant block content generator. Now let's walk through some of the fields that you see on this particular UI. First and foremost, you see the locale field, which allows you to select what locale or what language you'd like to generate content for. Then you have the creativity slider over here. And the creativity slider is nothing but the temperature setting. For those of you that are more technically interested, this is the temperature setting in the underlying large language model, meaning the higher the level of temperature, the higher the non-determinism that exists within the output. Essentially meaning with the increase in temperature, we increase the perceived creativity of the outputs the model generates. Over here, we have a field that detects the different elements. So you'll see the different elements that make up this particular block. And you can see that it detected that we have a body copy, a headline, an image, subtext, link text, price, strike price, and URL. What we're going to do for this particular use case is remove all these fields over here and just generate content for the body copy and the headline of this particular block. Then we have the most important fields, which are the content and audience fields. Now, within the content and audience fields, what you can do is within the content field, define the product content or any other contextual information that the large language model should know in order to generate content for this particular block that is aligned with the use case that the marketer is trying to run. And then within the audience field, you have the ability to define a particular audience that you would like to generate this content for, so that created content is a bit more targeted to the segment that you're trying to approach with this particular block. All right, so in terms of the content, let's actually jump into this block over here and then use this information that we've created before to help us define some new content for this particular block. What I've done is copy pasted the information into this content field. And now I'm going to add some information. Please mention the availability of different colors. Furthermore, we're going to define an audience really quickly. So let's say women and men that have an affinity for editorial and high fashion. Great. Let's set the creativity to 100 and then remove once again the aspects of the block that we would not like to generate content for, and click on generate blog content. Now, as that generates, let me walk you through and remind you what exactly is happening. We're sending a request to the large language model that contains information about the content we'd like to generate, along with the audience we'd like to generate this content for. The underlying model is going to take all that information in and then provide some textual content output. As you can see, we have the introduction of the AI neg stilettos, the newest addition to our premium collection. Now, this is not exactly the use case that we want to generate content for. In fact, let's actually take all this information that we've created now and then use that to create content for a new product launch. So let's say, please call out a new product launch that is happening on the 26th of March. And all we have to do is hit fine tune. And again, what's happening is it's taking all the information that we've presented in the beginning as the settings before, along with the newly generated content and with the addition of the extra prompt that we asked it to help us tailor make the content for the use case that we're trying to run. And it's passing all of this information along to the large language model, which then allows us to create this new content. As you can see, launching on the 26th of March, the stilettos, a new addition to our premium collection. As you can see, it's definitely changed the text content to that of a product launch, but I don't really like the length of it. So let's go and change that. Please make the body copy shorter and more engaging from a narrative perspective. And we can hit fine tune. And again, it's taking all the information that we provided in so far, the contextual input from the conversation that we've had up until this point with the feature, and passing that all along to the large language model, which then gives us a new refactored output that takes into consideration making the body copy shorter and make that more engaging. Lovely. So we can use this information for our particular use case of calling out a product launch and click use. And voila, we've put that into the block. Right, the next step of the use case is that now we have all this great stellar content for this email campaign. In order to help marketers engage with the audience in the very first step of their marketing journey, we need to make sure that the email has a very engaging subject line that caters to the particular use case that we're trying to run, which is introducing the new stilettos. What I'm going to do is go open the subject line generator. And as you can see, it is creating variants from the email content. What is happening right now in the backend is all the textual information from this email content is being sent across to the large language model, and then the subject line generator generates potential subject lines that would fit the use case in the best possible way. And what's more is that marketers have ability to even define the prompt that is being sent across the large language model, allowing for a level of prompt engineering from within the Emarsys platform, which we're really happy to provide to our marketers, as we see prompt engineering being the way of operating for any marketing generation use case of the future. Right, once again, you have a very similar interface to what you saw with the block content generator. So you can select the different languages, for example, the number of variants you'd like to generate content for, and the creativity settings. As you can see in the baseline instructions, I've given it a very complex set of instructions. I first tell and prime the large language model to act as an expert marketer and copywriter, and to please return a subject line that is broken down into 3 parts. Part 1 adds personalization, uses 2 to 4 words, adds a sense of urgency. Part 2 uses 4 to 6 words, introduces a product. And Part 3 adds a contextually relevant emoji. Now, to finalize this prompt engineering approach, we ensure that all parts cohesively fit together in one sentence without breaks. And I give an example prompt, example subject line that I really liked, and ask it to provide 2 variants to test. Now, this, I would say, is a very complex prompt that allows the marketer to really define what they would like to see in their subject line. Now, with this baseline instructions box, there's multiple avenues for marketers defining how they would like to see their outputted content. For example, they can ask the feature to provide subject lines that fit their brand identity and tone of voice in the best possible way. Or they can break down and further try different approaches to testing different variations of subject lines by asking the model to factor those in. Now we're going to hit apply. And again, if we had changed the settings, then we would see that reflected in the new outputs, but we haven't done any changes. Why don't we use this opportunity to incite some more subject lines for another type of use case? For example, let's say we're targeting our German market. Let's look for the language German. Let's actually increase the number of variations, and let's actually remove all of this and say, make it funny. Keeping it short and simple, let's see what we get as generated subject lines. Great. It's even remembered the fact that we've had the previous instructions and factored that in. That's another added capability of having a history of chats with the large language model. It uses that contextual information that we provided before to help us continue to build on the subject line that we would like to see. Of course, I am not going to be the judge of how funny this is because I am not the best German speaker, and I would leave that for you to judge. Now, let's say we're happy with the subject lines that the model has generated for us, also in German. Let's say we like this variant. Now, while we are on the topic of liking this variant, the future goal is to be able to factor in all these likes and possible dislikes for the subject lines that are generated by our tool, and then use that to help us fine-tune the output for each individual customer so that we get better and better at producing subject lines for their use cases. Great. And if I like the particular type of subject line, then I can click on create variants, and then that will be used as a base for a subject line and use that to create more subject lines that are contextually relevant for their use case. Let's say I'm happy with this one. I'm going to click over here, and if need be, you can provide us feedback, of course, but there's no need for that now. And voila, we have a subject line. We have some great content over here. And actually, while we're on the topic, let's go about inserting more content into this email campaign. And for that, what we need to do is use a new feature that we're introducing to our new pilots. It's called the product finder, the AI product finder. Now, with the AI product finder, what we want to do, or allow our marketers to do, is to eventually have a natural language conversation with their product catalog, essentially bringing an aspect of the data to life in a way that they can have a conversation and get some results that match their criteria for the use case that they're trying to run for inputting a product into an email campaign. And of course, a big aspect that we have when we think of new products and new generative AI products that help us redefine how a use case is done is intuitiveness. What we really want to make sure of is whatever we do from a generative AI perspective and new product perspective is very easy and intuitive to use. Right. So let's say we want to introduce some new products into this email campaign. I'm just going to go over here. We have a 3-column product block, and I'm going to click on search. Since we're an apparel brand, we also have access to other accessories. And for example, let's search for wallets. As you can see, this is the product finder, and we've searched for anything in our product catalog that has the name, description, or title as a wallet. Great. We have a list of different items, and what we can do is click on select, and you can see that it automatically detects using AI and heuristics that there's 3 columns and 3 positions that can be potentially used to fill in information from the product catalog. So I'm going to put this particular product into position 2, and it's pulling that information in directly from your product catalog without you, the user, having to worry about creating the mapping from the product catalog field to the corresponding email HTML field. We're using heuristics and AI to help us map out those fields and those connections. Great. Now let's also input some more products and fill out this particular block. And let's see, we can put in the Laura lip in position 3. Amazing. So easy as that, we've taken information from the product catalog and inputted it directly into the email campaign that we're working on without the need of configuring the block and the product catalog to have a mapping in so that you can create those insertions very easily. Great. Now, just to really double down on this use case, let's look for a product finder over here. and let's say shoe, and let's input the Stessi. Now, to combine both of the use cases that we saw, the block content generator and the product finder, another cool way of doing that is, let's say we take this information here. Let's say we like the description that you're seeing right now, but we would like to improve upon it. So let's say this is the content, pink heel, high fashion enthusiasts, increase the creativity, and let's add some more information. New price, 199, old price, 159, and then let's click on generate block content while removing some of the information that we would like to avoid. Amazing. So it's taken the information that we put as very unstructured data. So the strike price is taken as the 159 that we defined. The new price is defined as 109. And you can see that it's taken the input that we've given it and improved it from the product catalog. Now, let's say we would like to translate this to German. And large language models by default and by nature are intrinsically good at language translation tasks. And this is directly coming from the underlying model that we use, which is OpenAI's GPT-4 at this point in time. So again, we can see that the model has outputted all the information that we needed in German. Lovely. So let's click on use, and voila, we've created a whole new content block by using the inspiration directly from the product catalog, while also searching for that information very, very easily from the product catalog directly. Amazing. So that was a quick tour of some of the generative AI features and functionalities that we're building out in the platform. Now, from a future-facing perspective, I'd like to just address what the scope is for the future when it comes to the product finder, the subject line generator, and the block content generator. With the block content generator, what we would really like to see is introduction of fields and input tags that will allow us to directly take an input from the product catalog or any other aspect of the Emarsys platform. For the product finder, what we would really like to do is to ensure that the customer can have a natural language conversation. So instead of saying shoe, for example, you can say, what are my top performing items in the last 3 months that would fit a customer that would like to take walks on a rainy day? So it would take in all that information from the different data sources that are available within the Emarsys platform and give you a resulting set of products that fit the criteria that has been defined in your natural language query. Furthermore, for the subject line generator, we plan to introduce the ability to browse through different baseline instructions and then further fine-tune our prompt engineering-based approach to allowing our marketers to get the most value from access to large language models that we provide with Emarsys. Along with that, the final thing that we plan to introduce is the segments that I called out during the interview, but we plan to introduce generative AI segments that allows marketers to understand, first of all, how their segments are configured by using the large language models to help generate a description, a natural language description of the conditional statements that are involved in creating the segment. And finally, we also want to be able to go our other way around. So taking a natural language description of a segment and helping the marketer to create a segment overall. But yes, those are some things that are coming along the way in the pipeline when it comes to generative AI at Emarsys. And as I said before in the interview, this is just the first step in what is to be a very long journey in how we provide value to our marketers with the powers and functionalities that are presented by the wonderful tool that is generative AI. Thank you very much, and see you soon.
Welcome to the world of SAP Intelligent CX. Our comprehensive suite of applications seamlessly integrates front-end and back-end systems, providing a unified and streamlined approach to managing customer interactions. We incorporate artificial intelligence that allows your team to work smarter and faster, and our industry-tailored use cases and partner ecosystem empowers organizations to deliver extraordinary experiences, build lasting relationships, and drive sustainable growth. Our composable SAP Customer Experience Suite enables leading brands to understand and protect customer data, increase lifetime value with personalized journeys, close more business faster, drive consistently profitable commerce outcomes, and deliver automated and agent-assisted service. Learn how you can deliver extraordinary customer experiences. Visit sap.com/cx.